Thanks for joining us here on the Bill Mason Show. We have an explosive show for you tonight. It is February the 18th, 2020. We have virus news. We have politics news. We got the latest polls. We also have locusts swarming throughout the world,
Yeah, man.
and war news as well. So a lot of things going on, Bill.
Yeah, you could say that again. Wars and rumors of wars, plagues, famines, pandemics.
Locusts,
Yeah,
all kind of stuff.
yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk about politics first, then we'll go into the virus, and then we'll talk about some Syria issues that's going on. So let's start with what's going on with politics. Did you see Mike Bloomberg jump in the polls?
Yeah, very, very strange to me. I mean, I guess he's getting his money's worth for the $420 million he's spent so far. I
Hmm.
guess that should buy you, like, a certain percentage. But, man, has Biden tanked or
Well,
what?
yeah, take a look at this. This is the polls numbers. This is today, February 18th, and look at that.
Look
You
at that.
have Sanders still going strong,
Yep.
and look at Biden just tank like a turd.
Warren, too.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Oh, so that Bloomberg's over Biden barely
Yeah, yeah.
nationally. This is a national poll that happened today. So got Sanders, Bloomberg, Biden, Warren. I can't never pronounce his name, but a judge. And then we got Amy down there at the bottom. No, she's
Yeah, she
probably
hasn't moved much.
yeah,
She's pulling up the basement.
yeah, she's gonna drop out soon. She has to. So uh, the current news is that it looks like Bloomberg is going to pick Hillary as the running mate.
Oh my God! An all New York, all flip floppy politician ticket. Oh
Yeah,
joy.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I heard Bloomberg might move his residence to Florida, so they won't be in the same state.
well, I mean, I'm sure he has multiple places he can call his residence, Mister, privileged New Yorker.
Right? Anyway, you disappeared for a minute, by the way.
Yeah, I think I hit something.
That's all right. Anyway, so we're all non-scripted here, so things
Yeah,
can happen when we do a show.
yeah.
Um,
This kind of control room back here. I don't
I
know what
know.
he's doing.
Well, I see Teddy back there. He's
Look, he's got his
monitoring.
hands on his hips. He don't know what's going on either, so
Yeah.
he
Well,
fits right in.
well, he's monitoring the virus, right? And he monitoring the
Yeah,
virus.
that's what I told him to do, but
All right.
who
So
knows?
anyway, so let's go back to Bloomberg. So we have a video of Bloomberg of him because Obama endorsed him today. Is that correct?
Yeah, like unbelievable. All he did was talk crap about Obama for 8 years, and all of a sudden, Obama chooses him over Biden. I guess he must have saw the polls too.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So let's listen to Bloomberg back in the day
Yeah,
about Obama. Here we go.
I would argue that today we are more segregated in America, certainly, than we were in terms of race, than we were a dozen years ago. And yet we're just finishing up 8 years with our first black president. Why are we more separated than we were before? That is the question you've got to ask yourself. Why during the Obama administration didn't we pull together? Well, I ask the president. That's his job, really, to pull people together.
There he is. So
yeah. And you know what's funny? I think we all know the answer to that. Like, I was not asleep during the Obama administration.
mhm.
Every time there was an issue that looked like normal police work, like for example, the some of the shootings that happened during his term, they would blow up to the point where it was racially motivated. It wasn't just cops arriving on the scene and having to pull their weapon and
Mhm.
so on and so on. It was always racially motivated. And he encouraged riots, he encouraged all of that stuff. So, of course, it was amplified during his presidency.
It
And
was.
Bloomberg's calling him out on it, but now all of a sudden he's getting a pat on the back. I mean, this guy should sell Bloomberg 2020 flip flops with the D on the left one and an R on the right one.
Right. Yeah, definitely a flip-flop. I mean, he's been flip-flopping. He was a Republican,
His
then
whole
was a
career.
Democrat, then was an
Yeah.
independent.
You know what he is? He's team money. That's what he is.
Mhm.
He's just team money.
He's Mini Mike, right?
Yeah, Mini Mike team money.
Well, here he is on about killing people that's over 65. Let's
Oh,
take a
he
look at
doesn't
this.
care. It's too expensive to treat them.
Fix right away. If you're bleeding, they'll stop the bleeding. If you need an X-ray, you're gonna have to wait. That's just, and all of these costs keep going up. Nobody wants to pay any more money. And at the rate we're going, healthcare is gonna bankrupt us. So not only do we have a problem, it's gonna bankrupt us. And we've got to sit here and say which things we're gonna do and which things we're not. Nobody wants to do that. You know, if you show up with prostate cancer, and you're 95 years old, we should say, go and enjoy, have a nice food, lead a long life. There's no cure, and you can't do anything. If you're a young person, we should do something about it. Society's not willing to do that yet. So we're gonna bankrupt us, and we're not looking at,
And I wonder
Wow.
what the cutoff is. Is it going to be 95? Is it going to be 65? Is it going to be
It's,
40?
it's just whoever decides. You know, are you too old to get treatment, and where does it end? So you pay in all your life, and when you get sick, you're screwed.
Right. Yeah.
Sounds like your plan.
Yeah, it's not good. So we don't want Mike Bloomberg to be president, I don't think, because we're getting up there, Bill. They're going to cut us
Yeah.
off.
I may be needing some of that care soon, so
Yes.
I don't need a guy like Mikey. But besides, you can see the underlinings of that, where he's talking about basically government taking over healthcare. So for all of that to happen, for an entity to be able to say no, you don't deserve the care, that's obviously preempting government taking over healthcare. So he's kind of already talking about some sort of Medicare for all, some scenario where you have to ask for treatment.
Right. Well, I mean, he's surging in the polls.
Yeah.
He's getting Hillary on board. So Sanders might want to watch out because they don't want him to be the nominee.
No, the Democrats play with Bernie. They let him go out and rah-rah and get crowds going, but they know they're never going to DNC nominate him.
Right. Yeah, he's going to be tough. So anyway, as far as Trump just went to the Daytona 500, by the way.
Yeah, it actually looked like they held the Daytona 500 at a Trump rally.
Yeah, that's a lot of people there at the Trump
Yeah,
rally.
man.
100,000 people. So,
Yeah, chant USA, man.
right.
Awesome.
So let's take a look at Trump doing a flyover. Here he is. There you go. So
Yeah, man.
magnificent sight. I mean, I was going to go. I mean, I'm only about 30 minutes away.
Yeah, but I mean, with the traffic, you would have had to
Yeah.
leave.
Traffic and get tickets and all that good old stuff. So,
Yeah, man. That's an all-day event.
I mean, a lot of people around here are NASCAR fans. I'm not one of them.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, I like high performance like you like the.
Oh, I like F1
Yeah,
myself.
F1's good. Yeah. But I can't stand NASCAR. But anyway, a lot of people like it. I mean, I have people that love it and family members that love it. I just can't. I went to Pepsi 600 one time and you just go around in a circle. It's only kind of fun when you get in accidents. Of course, no one's hurt, of course, but
Yeah, it's kind of that is definitely strange about a NASCAR event. I've been to several events myself, and you kind of start walking around and looking for something else to do until you hear tires screeching, and then it gets exciting. again.
exactly, yeah. So
I mean, there was actually a really bad accident at the
Right.
Daytona 500. I
There
mean,
was,
that guy, he survived, but I mean, that was rough, man. That shit was on fire.
it was a bad accident. So I'm glad he's okay. So anyways, we have a video of Trump. It's a great video about what he went through in the last few years. So let's take a look at that and see what this is all about. Here we go.
We've been going through this now for over 3 years. It was evil. It was corrupt. They have done everything possible to destroy us.
Trump will not be president.
Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States. Take it to the bank.
We first went through Russia, Russia, Russia.
Collusion.
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 Report, no collusion.
No collusion. Conclusion. Putting a damper on the Democratic drumbeat for impeachment.
We then went through the Mueller report.
It's been a bit of a bust.
This was a disaster.
He did not appear to have full command of the report that he issued.
I think the likelihood of impeachment went down sharply today.
They took nothing. They took a phone call that was a totally appropriate call, and they brought me to the final stages of impeachment.
Impeachment.
To start impeachment. Begin impeachment.
Impeachment.
When they're going to impeach the mother.
But now we have that gorgeous word. I never thought a word would sound so good. It's called total acquittal.
Donald John Trump be, and he is hereby, acquitted of the charges in said articles.
That's a great video.
Love it. And
Yeah.
you know what? I think 2020 is going to just be the victory lap.
Mhm.
4 years of victory lap for Trump. Because I mean, these Democrats, you could stack them all together. Not a single one is worth a crap load. So honestly, it's looking like a landslide if you ask me.
Yeah, well, I agree.
Unless they tamper.
Right. Well, they will tamper.
Unless they find boatloads of votes 10 hours after the polls close.
And the truck of the car. Yes, they will. They'll find them.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think for sure that he's going to be reelected. I mean, unless there is some voter fraud, but I think he'll definitely get reelected from the competition he has out there. So do you have any last remarks about politics? What's going on? Do you think Bloomberg is going to take it?
I hope not, but that Democrat side of the fence, they're like the crazy neighbor who shoots fireworks off out of his butt, man. It's like you almost don't want to watch, but you have to watch anyway. So I'm peeking over the fence at what's going on, and it looks like a circus. If Bloomberg can buy his way in, everything that the liberals have been squawking about for 4 years, about Donald Trump being this rich guy from New York who could just buy his way around town and all this stuff. Well, there you go. You got your version of it then. You got a rich guy from New York. I mean, that's what you have. And to me, at least Trump is a patriot who supports the Constitution. Bloomberg's a guy who wants to tear it up. So, man, I would much rather have almost anybody other than Bernie and Bloomberg together both scare me a little bit. But I got to say that I hope that the Congress gets in the way of anything like that. And no matter who, like, even if Trump gets reelected, let's talk about 2024 when, Trump can't run. Like, who goes there?
Right.
And that's when you have to hope that if Bernie's hanging in there and he's still running at 90 years old.
Yeah, Bernie's not going to be around at that.
But what I'm saying is that imagine somebody like Bernie, like an AOC or something like that gets elected. Hopefully you have Congress to slow down that nonsensical rhetoric. That's what the checks and balances are for.
Right. Yeah, I can't see an AOC presidency. Can you see that?
She'll be 35, and honestly, if Bloomberg's still around, maybe he bequeaths his money to the DNC.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Jeez. Well, the virus is getting stronger and stronger, so we're going to pull up the numbers here. These are confirmed numbers, but the unofficial numbers are a lot higher.
I don't believe these numbers, man. I've heard a lot higher.
Yeah, you see all the red in China.
Yep.
If we go out, you'll see Europe and North America. You're starting to see a little bit more clusters in North America.
Right.
So it's going to get worse before it gets better. Looks like there's 542 people on the Diamond Princess, and that's probably going to go up even higher because they're going to get all the test results as of Wednesday night for everybody. So it's 542 right now on the Diamond Princess. They have a cruise ship all by themselves, almost the second most, or is the second most, other than mainland China.
Yeah, man, cruise ships are tight quarters. I mean, it's hard not to get exposed, when you're in those little hallways and somebody's coughing or whatever. I can't imagine how you're trying to stay, disease-free, or if there is a virus on board one of those ships, man.
Yeah, I mean, they're all breathing the same air.
Right.
So they're all going to get it. So.
You know what? From this map, the safest spot to be is Antarctica. And Greenland. 0 cases.
Yeah, yeah. Greenland is good.
0
and
cases.
Antarctic. Yeah, I mean South America doesn't have anybody either.
Oh, I thought they had a Brazilian. No.
No, not
Okay.
not confirmed. So it's probably all over South America, but nothing's confirmed yet.
Okay.
So 2007 deaths. The head of Wuhan medical hospital here in Wuhan has died of the virus. You heard about that?
Yeah, I did.
And,
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and then we have a video of 2 videos for the virus. We have one from the World Health Organization telling them why this is going to be a bad thing throughout the world, and we have CNN talking to CDC director. I had to play CNN, unfortunately, but it's a very good video what they talk about and what's going on. So let's go to the World Health Organization.
Ebola and this are not the same. Ebola is lousy. This is airborne. Corona is airborne. It's more contagious. And you have seen it how it went into 24 countries, although it's small number of cases. In terms of potential to wreak havoc, the corona is very different from Ebola. Corona has more potency, virulence. We take it more seriously.
Take it more seriously. So there you have it, World Health Organization. And,
now I see why they call him Dr. G, the people that are around him. Did you see his name?
Yeah, no, that's why they call him Dr. G.
They call him Dr. G because
you were there all day pronouncing his name.
That's a tough one, man.
That's a tough one. So here we go. I want to go over. We're going to play the CNN with talking to the CDC director, Centers of Disease Control. So let's listen to this.
All right.
Obviously, be a significant investment.
On the same day, the CDC confirmed the 15th U.S. coronavirus case. I went inside the agency's Emergency Operations Center with Director Dr. Robert Redfield.
How good is the public health infrastructure at reporting in?
To give you an idea of how rapidly the situation is changing.
By the way, the numbers changed. I can tell you that it's actually 15 there.
It's a lot to keep up with.
What is the worst case scenario here in the United States?
So far, we've been able to contain it, but I think this virus is probably with us beyond this season or beyond this year, and I think eventually the virus will find a foothold and we will get community-based transmission, and you can start to think of it in a sense like seasonal flu. The only difference is we don't understand this virus.
Which is exactly why the CDC wants to be on the ground in China. It's probably Redfield's biggest frustration.
Right now, there's no evidence to me that this outbreak is at all under control. It's definitely not controlled, and the sooner we can help them get it under control, the better for the whole world.
So I guess that does raise the question, why are we sitting here in Atlanta talking about this versus the CDC being in China collecting some of this data?
I don't think it's a medical decision that we're not being invited in.
What do you think it is?
Well, I think it's above the medical.
You think it's a political decision?
I think it's above the medical. I don't think the director of CDC is making that decision.
You think it's a political decision?
Well, I think it's, all I can say is I think it's above the director of CDC because I know he would love to have us a system.
China has accepted help from the World Health Organization. The CDC is waiting to hear whether it's going to be a part of that team. In the meantime, Redfield says his priority is to keep Americans safe.
Our whole issue right now is, as I said, aggressive containment to try to give us more time, but it's going to take, 1 to 2 years to get that probably developed and out, to prepare the health systems to be able to be flexible enough to deal with the potential second major cause of respiratory illness.
There you go.
Wow. And you know what's funny? It's like some of the stuff he was saying where it was like, oh, that goes above, the medical, it goes above the medical. China's a communist country. Mm-hmm. This isn't about like us. We don't dictate China. It's not like the CDC goes, hey, wait a minute, let us in. That China is a sovereign entity, a communist sovereign entity that doesn't have to let anybody in.
No.
That's the problem. The CDC, the people that are experts aren't allowed in because China's like trying to handle their own business.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they don't want nobody else in there, but you would think they would want more experts in there to find out what's going on. The more the merrier.
Yeah, but it's like letting the UN into your terrorist country and poke around.
Right.
For the Chinese, I mean, once the CDC sees the body bag mountain, they're going to say, hey, wait a minute, are you guys really reporting the actual numbers?
Yeah, that's true. They can control the World Health Organization. They can't control the CDC.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, well. It's not looking good. I mean, the unofficial numbers are over a few million people, in fact, have the case infected.
Yeah.
And then about 40 to... about 40,000 to over 100,000 dead. That's the unofficial numbers.
Yeah. And I mean, I've heard a couple of arguments that people talk about just the regular influenza kills around 100,000 people a year.
Mm-hmm.
But the rate that influenza is spread is a lot lower than this. It's like a 1.1 compared to this is now a 4.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about a rate of one person infecting 4. Right. It's a little bit scarier. It's approaching like beyond Spanish flu if it does get out of China and it starts to really multiply. And
right.
Like I said, those cases in India, everybody knows the way the poor live in India, man, that thing could explode in a place like India.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking between 4.4 million people dead to 65 million people dead.
Yeah,
worldwide.
I mean, see, China being communist and having those apartment buildings that house thousands of people, for the military to stand outside the 4 doors and say nobody's leaving is one thing, but if you look at the slums of India where people are living in boxes made out of like plywood, I mean, there's no way to enforce where they go, where they stay, whether they self-quarantine or not. I mean, it could really go absolutely off the charts.
Right. I mean, normally viruses mutate, and they mutate to a lesser point because they don't want to die. The virus doesn't want to die. The virus wants to thrive in somebody's body. So when it mutates, it goes down, not up normally.
Right.
But this thing here, I mean, it lives in a body, for 24 days almost, they're
right.
saying, with no symptoms at all. And then you get the symptoms, and then you either die in a couple of weeks, or you get reinfected and you die. Because the word is that you get infected, the antibodies, kick in, and they cure whatever you have going on. It scars the lungs, and it comes back again, it reinfects you, and you die of a heart attack.
Yep, and people are just dropping, and they're being told that they're okay, and they're just dropping dead in the streets. I mean, on the job, in the streets,
Yeah, well, that's the reason they got reinfected. They were infected before. They got reinfected, and they just dropped dead.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. So they're blaming one of the health ministers. He had a heart attack because he was working so hard.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. He was working so he got the virus, he got it reinfected, he had a heart attack.
Yep. And there are people that they're telling them they're involved, they're healthcare workers, sanitation workers, some aspect of controlling the virus, and they're like, yeah, I feel a little sick, and they're like, no, there's nobody to replace you. You have to come in. Right. Work until you literally die.
Right. And they just fall over.
Yep.
All right, well, hopefully things will get better. We'll see. So as far as the Syria and Turkey situation, it's getting hotter and hotter.
Apparently.
Yeah. Erdogan in Turkey said that if Syrian troops don't pull back out of the Idlib area, he's going to attack them, get them out of there themselves by the end of February.
Yeah, and I don't doubt it. The craziest thing is, to me anyway, I am kind of an outsider when it comes to this, is some people call the Kurdish rebels the terrorists, and other people call the Syrian Assad people the terrorists.
Right.
And some people are now calling Erdogan's forces the terrorists.
Right.
So I guess it depends on which side you sit, who the terrorists are.
Right.
Because every headline I come across says terrorists killed in Turkish attack, and I'm like, oh, I guess the Kurds were killed by the Turks. And then if you watch like an Al Jazeera or something like that, it'll talk about like Assad's forces, killed terrorist Turks or something like that. You're like, oh, okay, they're the terrorists.
I mean, Assad was bad, but think about it. I mean, when Assad was in power, all these religions were together. They didn't fight.
Right.
It was Christian. It was Muslim. All these religions stayed together, and they didn't fight against each other when he was in power. So if they would just left well enough alone and not tried to overthrow him, it wouldn't have been this big old mess.
It's almost, and I hate to say this may sound crass, but it's like there's an acceptable level of violence in the Middle East because it's almost, there is no generation that grows up without like car bombings and violence and all this stuff. Like they kind of accepted that at one time or another on the streets of where they live, there's going to be some kind of conflict.
Right. Now,
the levels of conflict have gone increasingly off the charts because now somehow they get weapons, remember the white phosphorus that I think the Russians were dropping on the civilians?
Right.
That stuff burns at like 1,000 degrees. I mean, that's not their normal level of barbarism that they're used to. They're really ramping it up.
Yes. The white phosphorus is not good to have drop on you.
No, you don't want to mix that into it. Let them use their swords and scimitar and AK-47s, and it kind of like gets to a peak and then it levels off, and it's kind of like gang violence. I hate to compare it to like in America where there are neighborhoods that really get hot and they blow up and there's a lot of killing, a lot of bloodshed, and then everybody kind of goes, wow, that was bad. Right. And then it calms down, until it gets back. But once you start arming both sides with these real badass weapons of total chaos, it's gonna get real bad.
Yeah, I mean, every country in the world was there. Probably around a total of 26 nations military was in Syria at one time.
Yeah.
And then with ISIS and the Kurds and Turkey, and everybody was all there fighting. You didn't know what side you were on. It's one of those things is that you're on that side, I'm on this side. I mean, it was just it's like a three-pronged war going on with different people on different sides.
You remember when Trump pulled those special forces guys out of the region, and everybody gave him a bunch of crap, saying like, "Oh, you're gonna make the whole region fall or whatever." Yeah. He was honestly getting intel from guys that are there. Like, yeah, half the time we don't even know who's fighting who.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because these guys aren't wearing uniforms; they're wearing jeans and sneakers. Right. And it's like, oh, are the guys in the brown hoodie and white sneakers the enemy, or are the guys in the robes? Like, which guys do we shoot at?
Yeah, exactly.
And what day is it? Tuesday? Okay, we're shooting the guys in robes.
Right.
And then tomorrow we're shooting the guys wearing Nikes.
Yeah, it's a big disaster over there.
Yeah.
And you got Russia, and then with the Syrian government, you got Turkey with the rebels.
Yeah.
So it's not looking good. So I'm gonna play a video of the convoy, military convoy that Turkey's bringing into the Lviv area. Watch this. There you go. So it goes on for miles, actually.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the line to get into the Trump rally when I went to the one on the shore. It's about the same length.
Yeah, and that's probably as many people there too. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people there. So they're pouring in troops. They're trying to protect the rebels, and this is the last stronghold, by the way. This is it. This is the last one, last hurrah. The Syrian government controls this. They'll control the country, except for a little bumper zone that Turkey has.
Yeah, the most as Trump quotes, the most unsafe safe zone in the free world.
Right.
Yeah.
There's not much of a safe zone now.
No.
All right. So we have next is the a Hezbollah statue, by the way, for Soleimani that was killed, and Hezbollah put a statue up, and he's pointing to Israel where they want to go to fight. So just take a look at this.
Wow, man.
There you
Hey,
have
at
it. That's in southern Lebanon, by the way. Him
Yeah.
pointing to Israel.
At least the Palestinians have some artists that, felt like making a statue. Maybe it was like some downtime from making roadside bombs. They made a statue that week.
Yeah. So you did a good job, actually. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's a great likeness of him.
Yeah. It is. I like
Before
it.
he was in pieces.
It'd be funny if Israel goes in and just blows him up.
It becomes the target.
Yeah, he gets killed again.
Yeah, he gets blown to pieces again.
Oh boy. Anyway, so there you go. So as far as locusts all around the world.
Yeah,
So
man.
they're swarming around Africa, Middle East, and now going into China. What are they going to eat in China?
Hopefully the bodies of the Wuhan victims.
I hope not. But anyway, so the farmers are having a hard time in China getting their stuff to the market. They're actually destroying chickens, eggs, you name it, because they can't get it to where they want to get it to.
Yep, that's what I heard too.
Yeah, and pigs, and of course they have swine flu there. There's an epidemic going on. There's a plague going on for the chickens and the pigs, swine flu, bird flu, you name it. It's all happening there in China, and now they're getting locusts.
It's like the 12 plagues, man.
Yeah.
And China's getting it.
So I'm going to play the locust plague here and take a look. It's a big swarm. Here you are. Guys, as they're trying to catch it with a net, and I don't know if that's going to help out.
No, I don't think. I mean, unless you're going to eat some.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe some chocolate covered
3000 банка.
Yeah, man. They're going to run out of food because those locusts got to eat. Man.
There we go. Just dip in a little chocolate,
Delicacy.
Yeah.
But I'd be using like a flamethrower or something like that. I don't think catching them's going to do anything. You pretty much got to burn them, man. They are eating and breeding the whole way through.
Oh yeah, and they're growing. So anyway, so that's what's going on with the locusts, the virus, and the political this evening. Do you have any last remarks, Bill?
No, but I guess the only thing I can say is that this country has done a great job under Trump. I'm so proud, and I don't understand what the liberals are looking at. It seems to me like they're looking at a different screen than what I'm watching, but this country is actually doing a great job in a lot of areas. I think we've been in less conflicts. We've lost less U.S. Soldiers so far. I mean, we were kind of in a position where economically, I think we're realizing that we're too reliant on China. I think some things will come of that, and we're in a boom of American steel, and I think it's everything's on the upswing. So I'm happy to be American today. That's all I have to say.
I agree. I mean, this virus is actually showing America why we didn't need to have all those things over in China.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to, dip down and fill the dollar store with American-made stuff. I guess. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, they're gonna. I can't wait to see the dollar store in a couple of months. It's gonna be
Yeah, and actually, I went into a Walmart the other day, and I don't know if it's because they're in between seasons, but there were empty shelves. Like literally, there were shelves that had nothing on them.
Oh wow.
And that's in Philadelphia, so.
Okay. Yeah, I'll need to check out my area too. And people out there, if you're making comments or if you see something out there, empty shelves going on, Chinese products not coming in, just send us an email.
Yeah, send us an email, and it's the Bill Mason Show at Proton Mail. So it's encrypted. I mean, if you don't want to go through all that rigmarole, we have a Bill Mason Show at Gmail as well.
Yeah. So just send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. And thanks for watching us tonight. And we'll be on again on Thursday. And you have a wonderful night. Bye-bye. next vice president.
No, I can't even imagine.
Thank Bloomberg will get an Epstein, go the way of Epstein.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. He's scared to death, and Hillary's entitled to be like, yeah. By the way, I'm your vice president, because that's like him writing his own suicide note.